What's going on, Bears fans? Happy New Year. Back for another video here on Chicago Bears Now. Caleb Williams, I thought, had a very interesting and very impressive press conference earlier today, discussed a variety of topics, what he's looking for in the next Bears head coach, thoughts on Kliff Kingsbury as he was asked about him, and he also went to a strong defense of his offensive line. I just continue to be impressed with 18, so we'll talk about that. Plus, we'll explore a player that I think the Bears should be interested in drafting. So, busy show here. And this is why you subscribe to the channel. Whether we're in the studio, whether we're at home, we're bringing you guys content on a daily basis here on Chicago Bears Now. So, hit that subscribe button, turn on notifications. I think we're like 50 subs away from 112,000. Go ahead and help us get there. By the way, I know I mentioned earlier we were going to be live for Georgia Notre Dame. That game got postponed due to the reckless, cowardly act that took place in New Orleans earlier today. Thoughts and prayers with all who were impacted. We're still going to go live tomorrow. As of now, that game is set for 3 o'clock Central Time. Tomorrow we'll be live on Four Verts for that, but obviously that got postponed, so that is the latest with that. Okay, Caleb Williams speaks. Want to talk about three topics he talked about and kind of give my reaction. First, he was asked, what are you looking for in your next head coach? What are some traits? What are some qualities? Yada, yada, yada. He said, I want a coach that challenges myself, but also challenges us as players, whether it's on the field with character, doesn't matter. Just a coach that challenges us, a man of his word, a disciplined coach, a guy that wants to win. And he kind of went on to talk about, things that start before the season and yada, yada, yada. It kind of got me thinking. I was like, Ryan Poles the other day saying some of these issues stem from training camp. It just, I don't think he was trying to jab anyone. Again, I thought this was a good press conference, but I think he's kind of alluding to the coaching, the discipline, the style, and we've heard it from other players too. Keenan Allen, when they fired Shane Waldron, like they did not coach this team hard enough and well enough dating back to the offseason. You need somebody in there that is going to have a standard and maintain that standard. And that's kind of what he talked about too, is saying with the discipline. He said, whatever the coach's rules are, whatever his standards are, that he maintains those. And that's what you need out of your leader. You can't have a coach letting things slip. Like I heard the other day, Shane Steichen, the Colts head coach, who I actually think's a smart offensive guy, but I lost a little respect for him the other day because he was asked about Pat McAfee calling out some Colts players for showing up late to meetings, and Steichen said, yeah, well, unfortunately, sometimes guys are just going to show up late. And it's like, really? Like, okay, if I'm the head coach, you might get one freebie. You do it a second time, like, you're going to get fined. This is the NFL. You're making millions of dollars per year. You're the head coach, you go up there, and the reality is guys show up late sometimes. This isn't middle school, man. Like, this isn't, I don't know what standard you're setting here, but that's not a standard I want. Now, I don't know what Shane Waldron and Matt Eberflus's standards were. Clearly, they weren't good enough, and they might have just not been good enough coaches, period. But I think what Caleb's saying is, hey, coach us hard, have a standard, force us to meet that standard. I mean, remember the reports 2-3 games into the year, they had to sit Waldron down. Mercedes Lewis, he's been in the league 20 years, is having to plead with him. Dude, you have to coach us. You have to coach us hard. So, nothing earth-shattering, but just kind of like, hey, like the standard needs to be raised around here. This just is not going to cut it, which is pretty obvious, right? Like, I don't think anything Caleb is saying there is earth-shattering or just mind-blowing. Like, yeah, like the next coach needs to come in with a fresh set of standards, coach these guys hard, and go from there. Okay. He was also asked about Kliff Kingsbury. Obviously, they know each other. He was on USC staff last year. He's now having success with the Commanders as Jaden Daniels' offensive coordinator. The Bears interviewed him, decided to go with Waldron. We know the whole story, yada, yada, yada. Here is what Caleb had to say about Kliff. Say, I know him. I know what type of guy he is. I know he loves football. I know he wants to win. He's a competitor. And in so many different aspects that I was just speaking of, talking about what we were just talking about, what he's looking for in a coach, I've been around him. So I would say that being around him, knowing him, asking him questions, things like that. I think obviously if he was here, I would probably have more to say. but I think he fits a bunch of those qualities that I said. So Caleb's basically saying, like, yeah, I know Kliff. I like him. The standard, the qualities that I just mentioned, though, he checks a lot of those boxes. I've been hesitant with Kliff. His record as a head coach isn't super strong, but I think he's a smart offensive guy. I think he could get Caleb Williams playing some good ball. If you hired a strong-minded defensive coordinator who could handle that side of the ball, I think it could work. Again, would he be my top choice? No. No one's going to convince me that he would be a better option than Ben Johnson. But I don't know if he's a terrible option. Like a month ago when the Commanders kind of dipped for a little bit, I was like, man, this Kliff is cliffing again. But last 4 games, they're scoring almost 33 points per game. Like, he's got this thing back on track. He has Jaden Daniels running away with Rookie of the Year. Like, he deserves a lot of credit for what Washington's been able to do this year. And there's no doubt in my mind, if he became this team's head coach, he would have Caleb Williams playing better ball. Now, is he the best man to lead the entire team? I think that's a fair question to ask. I know he's a good coordinator. Can he be a good head coach? Sometimes guys in their second chance flourish. I think it's certainly a possibility. Having a guy he knows well would certainly be a good thing in terms of skipping some of those growing pains with Caleb Williams when it comes to building an offense. So I'm open to Kliff. I'm not gonna react to this quote and put him number 2 on my list or something like that, but I do think he'll be in the mix. Recent reports from Albert Breer and Ian Rappaport have suggested as much. And by the way, I'll quickly mention this as well. Caleb was asked, hey, do you expect to be involved in the coaching search? And he said, as a rookie, not really. But if he's asked to be, he'll gladly do it. I think he should at least be kept in the loop with what's going on because let's face it, when you're talking to the Ben Johnsons of the world, the Kliff Kingsburys of the world, the central piece of communication is going to be, how can you get Caleb Williams going? What is your plan to develop him? That's been reported. That's also just obvious. That's using your brain. So I do think that Caleb should be somewhat in the loop. Should he be some kind of tiebreaker on who to choose as a coach? No. That's got to be a management decision. But should he, should they take some input from him and take that under with a grain of salt? Yeah, absolutely. I don't think there's any harm in that whatsoever. All right, we are sponsored by Prize Picks, daily fantasy made easy at prizepicks.com/CLNS. Use the code CLNS. I hope you took the more on Cam Skattebo today. We're going to talk about him here in a little bit. The Arizona State running back having an awesome game. And the way it works is just like that. Stat projections, you choose more, choose less. Passing yards, touchdowns, points in basketball, rebounds, combo stats. You set lineups of 2 or more players and pick more or less based on the stat projections available. You can win up to 1,000 times your money on lineups right now. PrizePicks is available in more than 30 states, 10 million users and counting. You should be one of them. And when you sign up today using our link of prizepicks.com/CLNS, use the code CLNS, you're going to get a $50 bonus into your account once you play for just $5. So sign up, get started, play for $5, boom, additional 50 into your account. Link is in the comments and in the description, prizepicks.com/CLNS. Use the code CLNS. Get started today with PrizePicks. Okay, this is where Caleb really impressed me today. He was, I can't remember the exact phrasing of the question, but he was asked about the amount of sacks he's taken, the blame that's been going around on the offensive line, from me included, not solely, but largely. The offensive line certainly has not played nearly good enough. And Caleb knows that, but he's not going to come out and say that. Not only did he not come out and say it, he could have easily been like, we're all putting in work to improve each and every day. It takes all 11 of us. He could have kind of just given a generic answer. He went not the opposite, but he went as far as to say it's stupid that people are basically going after his offensive line. Here's the quote. The connotation behind my offensive line has been annoying and frustrating because they work their tail off to go out there. I've taken sacks. Yes. A good amount have been on me. And there was a long answer there, and he kept going. And to summarize, he strongly defended his offensive line. Strongly. And a lot of the data would show that the offensive line has played really poorly, especially the backups that they've been forced to play. The drop off has been massive. I mean, I think Larry Borum has given up like 7 sacks, and he's played in like 5 games. I mean, it's a joke. And this guy just continues to plug away and do the right things. And now, look, is there some truth to what he's saying? Yeah, he's taken too many sacks, no question. But when you get sacked 67 times, even if you're holding the ball too long sometimes, there's going to be a good amount on the offensive line. Now, it's somewhat of a subjective stat. I saw a chart that said 45% of the sacks are on Caleb, 55% are on the offensive line. I know a guy at WC Gridiron, Larry, Wiltfong, whatever his name is. Forget his name. Whoever it is, kudos to you. He puts a lot more on the offensive line. So let's just be fair, 60-40. Let's say 60's on the O-line, 40's on Caleb. Well, that's still about 40 sacks on the offensive line. I mean, that's almost 4 games. So, but that doesn't matter. What matters is he's got to go up there. And that doesn't mean he's never going to slip up or say something that maybe isn't the best answer of all time. He's only human. He talks to the media twice a week. Like he's not going to be perfect. But for the most part, this guy understands what it means to be the face of the franchise. He's very careful and articulate when he talks and what he says. That's what being a franchise QB is. You have to take ownership. You have to take leadership. You have to have your teammates' backs, even if on the field at times they haven't had yours. And this isn't me to say like, oh, Caleb's had this awesome rookie year. Like, no, he hasn't. It's been very up and down. I don't think it's been nearly as bad as some people online want to think it is, but it hasn't been as good as I thought or hoped it would be. The reality is it's somewhere in the middle, up and down. I think when you grade it on just a rookie quarterback scale, it's probably been above average. When you grade it on the expectation scales, it's probably, or of what we had, it's probably been a little below average. So, add it all up, he's had an average rookie season. For Bear standards, it's been pretty good because he's going to end up throwing for over 3,500 yards and probably 20-plus touchdowns. That's better than most QB seasons we get around here. But obviously a long way to go. You took this guy number one for a reason, but I think he's wired the right way. I think he knows how he can lead. And I think going into year 2, I hope we see more of that, leadership to translate even more. Because he even said, remember going back to training games, like, yeah, like I'm a rookie. Like I got to earn my stripes here. Well, now full year into this, new coach, I think he'll feel more comfortable kind of stepping into that and kind of diving in with both feet as kind of the guy on this team. So that's something I'm looking for. All right, been watching these college football playoff games again. Thoughts and prayers go out to those in New Orleans. Actually, one of the victims, one of TCU's players, receiver Jack Besh, he's actually going to get drafted. Keep an eye on him, probably middle rounds. Pretty good player. His brother actually passed away in the senseless terror attack that took place. So that's it's just sad. Obviously, want to wait all the info to come out. I'm not here to give some political take on this because that's all anybody does anymore. But just a senseless act. They pushed back the Sugar Bowl, so instead of 3 games, we got 2. The first game was awesome. I mean, Texas is in control. Arizona State's coming back, and this guy, big reason why. And I just kind of wanted to talk about him as a potential fit. Cam Skattebo, could he be a fit in Chicago? Because I've said this for a few weeks now, and especially if Ben Johnson's the coach. I like the idea of getting a physical north and south runner to pair with DeAndre Swift. I like DeAndre Swift. I think he's a good player. I don't think he's an every down lead back. There's only about 8 to 10 of those when you really think about it. You've got the Saquons, you've got the Derrick Henrys of the world. I'm sure I'm leaving a few out. Josh Jacobs in Green Bay. There's between 6 and 10. I'm not going to go through every team's running back situation, but most teams have some sort of a 1-2 punch. Detroit is the standard with our good friend David Montgomery, Jahmyr Gibbs, Thunder and Lightning combo there. I think Swift can be a poor man's Gibbs. He's good out in space. He catches the ball well. He's a good enough runner between the tackles where it's not like he's just a gadget guy. It's certainly not a strength of his, but like you can run him inside some. He can take those hits. I just don't think he's a 3-down back. Well, a guy like Cam Skattebo, who's not going to run super fast, but breaks a shitload of tackles, tough as hell. He can also catch the ball and block, by the way. He's an interesting player. Now, again, he's not going to test that well probably in the in the especially in the 40. I wonder where the short area quickness stuff ranks. I think he could do okay there, but I think you put him on the list in these with a bunch of guys in the middle rounds of this draft where I think you got to get one of these running backs if you're the Bears and you pair this player with Swift and you've got your 1-2 punch regardless of who the number 2 is. It doesn't really matter. This guy, 284 total yards. He was their whole offense. He for like three and a half quarters, he had outgained Texas by himself. He threw a 42-yard touchdown pass. He caught 8 balls for 99 yards. He rushed for like a $140. I mean, this guy was unbelievable. And listen, he talked the talk. He said, "I'm the best running back in the country. I'm this, I'm that. Texas hasn't seen anyone by me." This guy backed it up, man. He almost carried Arizona State to an upset win by himself. If it wasn't for Quinn Ewers throwing a touchdown on a 4th and 13 in the first overtime, ASU would have pulled off the upset. Awesome game. Awesome player this guy is. Again, I don't know where he'll go in the draft. I don't think he'll go in the first 2 rounds just because his athletic profile is just not going to be there. But this guy is tough as hell. He is hard to bring down. If he's sitting there in the 4th round and the Bears have a pick in the 4th, they don't currently have a 4th round pick, I'd take him. I mean, shoot. Doesn't he just feel like a Chicago Bears type of running back? Like it's snowing in December and you just hand this guy the ball 20 times. We'll see. We'll see how it plays out. But I want to get somebody that you can pair with Swift. I don't think Roschon's good enough. And maybe this guy could be that. He's not as dynamic as an Amari and Hampton or even an Ollie Gordon or someone like that. But he's fun. He's a damn good player. So definitely intrigued to see how he tests and what his kind of draft market ends up being. All right, that's going to do it for Chicago Bears Now. We'll be back in the studio tomorrow again. For those who are going to join us for our 4 Verts live watch party at the Sugar Bowl, unless something changes, 4 o'clock Eastern, 3 Central Time, kickoff tomorrow. So we'll probably go live 30 minutes early over there. More content here on Bears Now as well. My name is Harrison Graham. See you guys soon. Bear down.